Welcome back to the Rich Carroll program. I am your host, Rich Carroll. Well, the migrant caravan from Central America has made its way to the U.S. southern border, and I had a request from a viewer to discuss the issue. And this is actually one of the two shows that I want to discuss before the year closes out. So let's jump right into it. Now, this caravan that everyone is talking about is a group of several thousand people mainly fleeing Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. Some members of the caravan claim they are seeking asylum in the United States from violence and extreme poverty. There are many who are simply looking for a job and a new life. But depending on who you ask, the answer on who exactly makes up this caravan may vary. If you ask someone on the left, you might get the answer that the caravan is just innocent women and children and families seeking a better life. If you ask someone on the right, you might get the answer that the caravan is full of invaders just wanting to take advantage of our broken immigration system. But the truth is, it's a mixture of various people. According to data reported on by the Council of Foreign Relations, in 2015, as many as 3.4 million people from the three countries were estimated to be living in the United States. So it's entirely believable that many are still trying to get out of their country in pursuit of a better life. But here's the catch. About 55% of those people were living in the U.S. illegally. And that's a trend that we are seeing with this caravan. There are people who are honestly seeking a better life, and there are people who are breaking the law. And you can really tell which ones aren't the law-abiding ones by when the caravan arrived at the Guatemala-Mexico border. You see, CNN reported how members of the caravan tried to force their way into Mexico and ended up clashing with Mexican authorities. But Reuters reported that about that time, around 2,000 people had already turned back to their home countries before reaching Mexico, and that another 486 were on their way back. So it's a mixture of both. There are good and there are bad in this caravan. But some of you might also be wondering, is there anyone else in the caravan besides just people looking for a better life? Well, I wanted to update you on what else has been found in the caravan. Judicial Watch spent some time on the ground and documented that there were 7 minors rescued from human smugglers. Great news there. Individuals have been reported from countries like Bangladesh, China, Somalia, and India. That's an awfully long ways from Honduras. A report by DHS claimed that over 270 individuals have criminal histories in the migrant caravan. There was a member of MS-13, the violent gang, that there was a member that was captured who admitted he traveled with the caravan. And there was the common media narrative that the caravan members are simply fleeing violence and extreme poverty. Well, you can check my sources. There's a video by filmmaker Amy Horowitz, who actually interviewed various people in this caravan, and they said that the reason for leaving their countries were they were simply looking for job opportunities. In fact, I believe no one in his video cited violence as the reason for leaving the country. Now, one point of interest for many people analyzing this caravan has been the logistical and financial support the migrants have received. People want to know who is funding this thing, who is helping transport these people on trucks, who is paying for the water, the medical care, so forth and so on. The original organizer for the caravan was Bartolo Fuentes. He is a member of the leftist Libre Party. The Libre Party is the party of former Honduran President Manuel Zelaya, who is an ally of Venezuela and Cuba. Fuentes, the original organizer, was detained in Guatemala and returned to Honduras when the caravan first set out. Interestingly, Vice President Mike Pence has said the current Honduran president told him the caravan is being funded by leftist groups and Venezuela. Okay, that's what Pence said. The video I mentioned earlier by Amy Horowitz received confirmation by the United Nations High Commission for Refugees that the UN has been providing on-the-ground assistance to the caravan. So you've got the UN helping out. Also providing assistance to the caravan has been Pueblos Sin Fronteras, or People Without Borders. One woman told Horowitz that the organization teaches migrants how to request asylum and to attain humanitarian protection. They also teach the migrants how to speak with the press. The New York Times reports that Alex Mensing is a project coordinator for Peoples Without Borders. And you see, Alex Mensing is kind of an interesting piece to this puzzle. He is an on-the-ground coordinator for a group called CARA, C-A-R-A, Family Detention Pro Bono Project. CARA is comprised of two other legal groups, the Catholic Legal Immigration Network and the American Immigration Council. Now, in my sources, there is a link to influencewatch.org. If you search for who has provided funding to these two groups I just mentioned, you find the Open Society Foundations. Who is that? The Open Society Foundations was founded by progressive megadonor George Soros. And the New York Times and factcheck.org tried to disprove that Soros was funding the caravan, but they did not address the Soros money tied to CARA. In fact, Soros himself wrote in a 2016 Wall Street Journal piece titled, "Why I'm Investing $500 Million in Migrants." And so now that we've covered some of that, let's switch to when the caravan arrived at the U.S.-Mexico border. In an interview with CNN, Border Patrol Chief Rodney Scott said that rocks and debris were thrown at border agents by some of the migrants. Scott also said that he saw women and children were pushed to the front of the group. And this is so when the agents respond with tear gas that the news media can get their pictures of women and children running from the tear gas, and they can use that to push their narrative of what is really going on with this caravan. He also confirmed that parts of the border fence were breached and 42 migrants were arrested on the U.S. side. And that right there is the argument for the border wall. You have people trying to force their way into the United States. They find an older section of the border fence, they break through it, and they make a beeline for the U.S. Okay? If you had existing parts of the border fence updated and new portions built, you could funnel migrants, like in this situation, to legal points of entry versus having them trying to make a break for it and illegally break into the United States or get captured and claim asylum. Now, the BBC reported that 98 people were deported by Mexico for trying to violently cross the southern U.S. border. Mexico also announced it would deport around 500 migrants for ignoring Mexican authorities and trying to enter the U.S. violently and illegally. MSNBC reporter Gadi Schwartz said from the field, quote, "The majority of the people that are part of this caravan are men." This was also corroborated by Border Chief Rodney Scott and the Amy Horowitz video I keep alluding to. In fact, Horowitz estimated that 90 to 95% of the migrants he saw were men. And also, the San Isidro point of entry near Tijuana was forced to temporarily shut down when the caravan arrived. And so hopefully I have given you a general idea of what has been going on with this migrant caravan. Obviously, there is a lot of information associated around this topic. So I know that there was a lot of stuff I probably missed, but hopefully you guys got the gist of it. And with issues like these, I try to give you ways to make an impact or to be involved in some way. And some of the ways I believe that we can make a difference is by, number one, supporting a border wall. President Trump has threatened to force a government shutdown this month if funding for a border wall is not secured. Now, you would think that Democrats might use this opportunity to get something for, say the Dreamers in exchange for border wall funding. But that doesn't look like it's in the cards right now. So we need to contact our legislators through social media, through email, phone calls, whatever, and tell them to build the border wall, especially if you have a Democratic senator. Another way you can help out is by telling your legislators to support the Protect Kids and Parents Act by Senator Ted Cruz. Now, I honestly believe that this is a bill that would have received bipartisan support from your everyday American. Do you remember when the media was spotlighting children being separated from their parents at the border earlier this year? It just so happens that that bill that Senator Cruz introduced, I believe, could apply to the issue of the Caravan as well as what was going on back in the summer of this year. And here's what that bill would have done. It would have doubled the number of federal immigration judges from roughly 375 to 750. It would have authorized new temporary shelters with accommodations to keep families together. It would have mandated that immigrant families be kept together except in the cases of aggravated criminal conduct or the threat of harm to the children. And it would have provided for expedited processing and review of asylum cases so that within 14 days, those who meet the legal standards will be granted asylum and those who do not will be immediately returned to their home countries. So that sounds pretty reasonable, right? But you might be surprised to know that not a single Democrat in the Senate co-sponsored that bill. I mean, obviously Senator Cruz's bill is its aim is to speed up the asylum process. And what do you have in this Caravan? You have people looking for asylum. So I don't know what the Democrats were thinking by not supporting that bill. So if we want our borders to be secured, and if we want legal immigration enforced, we have to be vocal to our lawmakers. And so that is my show on the Migrant Caravan. Thank you for tuning in once again. I'm Rich Carroll. God bless.